You wish you could jump between decades and time travel anywhere you wanted, and of course, anytime? It's possible this wish came to you thanks to the classic sci-fi show Quantum Leap. Even though the original is 34 years old, its ideas are very original and are being used in sci-fi movies and shows even today. In this video, let's talk about its reboot and how the showrunner explains it'll update the sci-fi classic. Starting off with the new old show. Things might be changed for creativity purposes. The fact remains that Quantum Leap basically changed the shape of sci-fi, and creators basically use it as inspiration to create their own universes. We're looking at you, Marvel. Even though it's been years since it first aired, its impact was so phenomenal that it's being rebooted, and of course, people are filled with nostalgia. So let us celebrate and let you know that Quantum Leap is back, or at least a reboot sequel of it is back, and it introduces a whole new cast into the show's already existing time-traveling setup. If you thought that Sam Beckett was going to come back for this, you thought wrong. This time, the series follows Ben Song, played by Raymond Lee, who leaps between decades and helps people in need as his lab team in 2022 tries to figure out how to bring him back home. The showrunner and the executive producer, Martin Gero, very recently appeared at a press conference just before the NBS series premiere and spoke to media outlets about the show and its much-anticipated return. Martin Gero, in particular, talks about how its original characters and fresh approach to the old material, mixed with some returning elements, will hopefully make both old-school fans and Quantum Leap newbies very happy. Let's see what he's cooked up for us, because we're more than ready to check this out. 2 episodes have already been released, just by the way. And if you haven't watched them yet, what are you waiting for? Next up, the 3 H's. Gero also said that Deborah Pratt, one of the original creators and executive producers of the show, was with them every day to bring this version to life. He continued to say that they're very lucky to have her because she believes the 4 pillars of the Quantum Leap are hope, humor, and history. So the 3 H's actually made the beloved show possible. It's very clear for Pratt to see that the new lead character, Ben Song, really inhabits the first of the 3. Apparently, he's the hopeful sort, huh? He's an incredibly hopeful character and has a tremendous heart. Pratt says that the show is about empathy at its core, and this new character has a ton of that to give. And then also, and most importantly, because they want to make a really entertaining and fun show, they also got humor. Who doesn't love a bit of a chuckle here and there? The show's got exactly that. Humor is a huge part of the original Quantum Leap too, and they needed to make it a vital part of the reboot too. And that's exactly what they evidently did. Gero believes that everyone involved in this series, the cast and crew, had really made it a challenge to make sure they found a grounded way to bring a huge amount of hope, heart, and humor to these new episodes. Moving on, Sam Beckett is not forgotten. As you move ahead with this video, and especially if you're an old Quantum Leap fan, there must be several questions popping into your mind. And most of all must be, where is Sam Beckett, the guy who made this all possible and because of whom we're even getting this sequel? Don't worry, the new Quantum Leap fully acknowledges the existence of Dr. Sam Beckett, and that's about it. Gero hasn't commented anything else, and definitely didn't tell whether the character might play a part in the new series eventually. But Scott Bakula, the actor who played the iconic role of Beckett, recently said on social media that he has no involvement in the show. It's very possible that he's pulling an Andrew Garfield, but there aren't many hopes attached to this. While we all do hope that Beckett would be back, even if he doesn't, it doesn't mean that the new show can't survive without him. After all, this is a whole new story with completely different characters. So even though he may not exactly be a part of the show as a character, it's pretty much a fact now that the show is going to mention Beckett and everything that he's done. After that, not a reboot. Gero and his fellow creators knew from the start that they didn't want to do a reboot of the show. It's such an iconic show that's so beloved that it felt crazy to them to just do a version with new Sam and a new Al. That was the character of Dean Stockwell in the original series. Gero knew that it would essentially be set to fail. For everyone that was involved in the project, it made sense to them that they wanted to have a continuation of the show with a brand new set of characters. They wanted a show that would honor the old and new, pay service to it, but have a really low bar for entry for new viewers. It makes sense to make sure that potential new fans who heard about the show and wanted to jump on the hype bandwagon weren't thrown off by so much history from the original show that turns them off because they're required to watch the classic. Sure, if they watched it, they'd fall in love with it, but it's good that the creators didn't forget that the new viewers were here to watch the new show, not the original. Gero thinks that's the tightrope that they're walking. They want all the rabid fans of Quantum Leap to watch the show and have it feel like Quantum Leap, where they go like, yes, this is it, but this one's an evolution of the original show and still feels like the old classic. So yeah, that's gotta be tough to achieve, and we get what tightrope he's talking about. We also have tasteful mythology, and yeah, he actually said what we believed was the reason for this type of reboot. He continued that he and his team know there's a massive amount of people that are loosely familiar with the title and are just going to check the show out clean. They didn't want to weigh the show down with a lot of mythology from the old show that'd make them feel like they need to watch those 90+ episodes of Quantum Leap Leap before they can ever start this, so you can start fresh. And then slowly throughout the season, there's an enormous amount of backstory and mythology from the original show that they're really excited to share with fans, but it's done in a way that it'll feel like a different view of past events for old fans. And so it's new information for them, and for the new fans, it just feels like they're still in the middle of the story and it's coming out organically. If they've managed to pull this off, it's no less than a masterpiece in our eyes. Having to and succeeding in pleasing both the new and old fans of the show has got to require some great talent, and Giro and his team seem to have done the job. Following up, Friends Forever. One big difference that OG Quantum Leap fans will notice about the new series is that Ben's co-workers in the time travel lab are Magic, played by Ernie Hudson, Jen, played by Nanrissa Lee, and Ian, who's going to be played by the Sandman star Mason Alexander Park, and Addison, that's going to be played by Caitlin Bassett, is also a big part of the story. The previous show didn't have this much of a support system for the time traveler. This one seems to have a bunch of friends who are going to try to bring their pal back home. Oh, and Addison also happens to be Ben's fiance and his Al-style hologram helper. So 2 birds, huh? Lastly, the modern day touch. In the premiere episode, which some of the media outlets viewed before the press conference, the action is said to be equally and evenly divided between Ben's journey to the past and his very much confused and concerned team's work in the present. Ben also journeys to the past without telling anyone and on equipment that's not quite ready to handle his actions. As you know, the original Quantum Leap is basically an anthology series with a very thin line. Obviously, there was a lot of character development, but not a lot of episodic stories. And Giro thought that everyone kind of felt that the studio side and the network side needed some sort of serialized aspect. So if they've made this choice, there must be a smart decision behind it. Giro explained that he thinks the modern day part of it allows them to have that flexibility to ask, why did Ben leave? What's going on? Why didn't he tell anyone? And that mystery will pull us through the week to week without alienating viewers who are watching the show for the first time without any prior knowledge. That's it from our side for today. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or thoughts about Quantum Leap's Showrunner explaining how the new series updates the classic, let us know in the comments below. See you in the next one.